Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for your service, Mr. Strickling. I'm sure it's been a long hearing, but I want to thank you for the work you do in a very complicated area. I've worked on this issue some as a member of the Commerce Committee, so I've been familiar with it for a while, and I know at first when people hear about this, it seems like, well, why can't our own government just control all of this? But I think we understand that this is an international internet, and one of the crucial aspects of the internet is that it's based on the open, free flow of information, and it's not run or controlled by any one government. NTIA's role was meant to be temporary as the multi-stakeholder process at ICANN was established. It has now been over a decade, and NTIA is simply working to transition its role. However, we do know that there are other governments across the world who want to control the internet or want to stop the spread of information on the internet to their citizens and limit the democratic values that it provides by allowing people to freely share in information across the world. Can you expand on, just stepping back a little from the minutia here, could you expand on why this transition is important to sending a clear message that the internet should be run by the multi-stakeholder process, quite a mouthful, by people from various governments and not by one individual government?
And that has been the long policy of Congress specifically as well. And back in 2012, both houses of Congress passed resolutions supporting the multi-stakeholder model.
What year was that?
2012.
Okay.
And this Senate passed a resolution reaffirming its support for the multi-stakeholder model in 2015.
So in 2012, then, were the Republicans in control of the House when that happened? I think so.
I think they were.
Yes, they were, yes. Okay, continue on.
But the point is, support for the multi-stakeholder model has been bipartisan here in Congress. I mean, these were resolutions that were basically passed without objection. And so it's been important that we've served as a beacon to the rest of the world of the importance that civil society, businesses, technical experts play in charting the course of the internet, particularly the technical aspects of the internet reflected in the discussion we're having today about the IANA functions contract. And as I testified earlier, there's been a long struggle between those authoritarian governments that are threatened by their citizens being more actively engaged in managing internet resources, who have sought to bring internet governance under the authority of the United Nations or the International Telecommunication Union. That's what's at risk here.
So what you're saying is what we've tried to do is set up a process so that it is the internet's governed by these multi-stakeholders instead of going over to the UN is where it would end up.
Absolutely. That has been the battle we've been fighting for more than 10 years.
And who wants it to go over to the UN?
I'm sorry?
Who wants it to go over to the UN?
Typically, it'll be authoritarian countries led by Russia, China, and other countries that are threatened by a free and open internet. They feel that if it can be brought into a framework where only governments can make decisions, that they'll be able to preserve their ability to censor within their own borders, as well as perhaps affect how it's...
And will the United States continue to be an important stakeholder under the ICANN establishment when that gets completed?
Absolutely. We will continue to participate actively.
And how will that be?
That'll be done through the Government Advisory Committee, but we in the State Department will also be advocates for internet freedom and internet governance issues in all international venues, not just ICANN. Okay.
At the Commerce Committee hearing on this topic back in May, I asked Ambassador Gross about the Accountability Working Group, and he testified that accountability is critically important. According to your testimony, NTIA has thoroughly reviewed and agreed with ICANN's report that ICANN has or will complete all necessary tasks called for by the transition proposal. What aspects of the accountability proposal give you confidence that ICANN will remain accountable after the transition?
Well, what the proposal has done is it's preserved largely the existing structure of ICANN, which is important for maintaining the stability of the Internet domain name system. But what it's done is it's now created a set of powers for the community to be able to exercise if the ICANN board takes an action that the community disagrees with. These powers include being able to reject a budget. They go to the point of being able to actually remove board members and spill the entire board if the board should totally go against the wishes of the community. And so while we hope and expect that those will never ever be exercised, the fact that they are there serves as an important accountability control over how ICANN conducts itself going forward.
And one last question. Is the ranking member of the Antitrust Subcommittee focused on those issues? I know they were discussed earlier. My staff told me, and I understand that ICANN has, and will be treated as a private party. And like any private party, when it is compelled to act by the U.S. government, it is not liable under the antitrust law for those compelled actions. Beyond that argument of compulsion, ICANN can claim no immunity under antitrust law. Is that your understanding as well?
They have never had antitrust immunity, and they won't have it going forward.
How does the transition affect ICANN's ability to claim immunity under the antitrust laws?
It won't affect it one bit.
Thank you very much.
I thank both of the witnesses for your testimony. The first panel